Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is the 3rd of April 2024 and these are the stories that we'll be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the day 180 of the Israel-Palestine war that show no sign of abating as we speak. And we also are seeing signs of Israel expanding that war beyond Palestine. At the same time, there has been a worldwide condemnation as Israel's military stands accused to deliberately targeting charity staff, bringing food to thousands of Gaza people who are also facing imminent famine. The US-based aid group World Central Kitchen has confirmed 7 of its staff members have been killed by Israeli strikes. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says the Israeli attack that killed 7 World Kitchen staff bring the total number of aid workers who have been killed so far since the 7th of October last year to 196. US President Joe Biden says he is outraged and heartbroken by Israel's killing of these aid workers, delivering some of his strongest criticism of Israel as of yet. The latest casualties nevertheless keep on increasing and they are at this moment at 32,975, almost 33,000. 75,577 people have been injured. So far at least 8,000 people are still missing as we speak. The United Nations World Bank report estimates that the infrastructure damage in the Gaza Strip at $18.5 billion in the first 4 months of Israel's assault is a record so far. This is going to be discussed and more during our first segment. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the rising Islamophobia across the world, whether it be in the United States of America or in India. In the United States, we have seen the increasing number of incidents, and that has been confirmed in a report that has come out that talks of the Islamophobia in the US in the year 2023. There have been various incidents and complaints that have also been lodged of this kind. 8,061 in 2023, a 56% rise from the year before and the highest since the records started to be kept 30 years back. This and more are also going to be discussed in our second segment. Then we are going to discuss the telephonic conversation that has been held between Joe Biden, the US President, and Xi Jinping, the President of China. The leaders had last spoken on the sidelines of the 21-member Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in California in November last year. Now, both the sides have said that the talks between these two sides that went way beyond an hour were constructive. A lot of important issues were discussed, whether it be the AI, whether it be regional, global issues, bilateral cooperation, areas of difference as well that were part of these talks. Then we are going to discuss a 7.4 magnitude earthquake that hit Taiwan. This is the strongest earthquake that has hit Taiwan in the last 25 years. Taiwan's government says at least 7 people have died, and 711 have been injured after this earthquake struck the eastern coast of the island. Rescuers are also describing people who are who have not been able to come out of these buildings that you can see the images of in the parallel window. There are different regions in Taiwan that have also been hit. Tremors were felt as far as the capital Taipei, and of course the quake also set off tsunami warnings as far as Japan and other countries. And of course many countries have announced relief for Taiwan, have offered assistance to Taiwan, including Japan, China and others. This is going to be the lineup for today. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns day 180 of the Israel-Palestine war. The barbarities continue, the ethnic cleansing continues, and the genocide continues. We've been joined by Dr. Ijaz Khan. He's a foreign affairs expert. He's right here with us in the studios. Dr. Sab, thank you very much to have joined us. I'd like to begin on a slightly different note of Russia that has gone to the United Nations Security Council, asked for a meeting of the United Nations Security Council or to condemn Israel's attack on Iran's consulate by circulating a draft agreement of the UNSC denouncing the Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate in Syria. Now, do you feel that the UNSC is going to take out some kind of a formal statement as far as this incident is concerned? And how do you see Israel expanding the war against Palestine to other countries, this case in particular?
Well, what I would do is divide your question into 3 parts. One, Israel is attacking an embassy, a diplomatic mission. Diplomatic mission is not a target for anyone under any circumstances on any pretext. You cannot say that because there were people, some criminals or wrong people or whatever they are, it's out of bounds for everything. That is the minimum and international law consensus. Because of that immunity and absolute sanctity that diplomatic relations and international relations work. So that is a violation of that. That means everyone is susceptible and can fear. Then it is in another country with which you are not at war, carrying out an attack there. It again violates. But then comes the UN and Security Council. There it's not a court that you go and they only look at the legalities. They're political. It's a political gathering, and states do take decisions, votes on the basis of their policies, diplomatic stance. Now, Russia had gone there. In principle, it has taken up a very correct stand because it is a grave violation, a very grave violation, and Security Council is appropriate body to take some action to at least condemn it. How others would react? There is a veto power, and United States is there, and United States relations with Israel are very obvious. I don't need to clarify or say anything about that. But on the other side, the US has also condemned that attack, and it has demanded from the Israelis to investigate this happening. And Israelis have said that they will hold an inquiry into that. Will USA permit Security Council, because US has always been blocking, vetoing any resolution that
apart from the last resolution that came out.
It will depend what the language is, how they agree with that on that. So chances are USA may say that okay, they are investigating as Israel has announced it will investigate. So why are we jumping into it? But depending on the language, there will be political bargaining and beginning in that on that.
All right. You talk of grave violation. Another grave violation has been the killing of the 7 crew members of the charity that was supplying food to the hapless people in Palestine. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres says that this attack brings the number of total aid workers killed in Gaza to 196, which includes more than 175 staff of the United Nations. This is unconscionable. This is what he says. The World Central Kitchen, whose members were killed, says that food is now being used as a weapon of war. I'm taking out some statements and then I'll take your point of view on that. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this strike was unintended and tragic, and the military pledged an independent inquiry. The military chief says a deadly strike that killed these workers was a result of a misidentification in complex situations, and he called the attack a grave mistake. And of course, there has been a huge condemnation worldwide of this incident. And as far as the figures go, according to these figures by the UNRWA, 174 UN staff have been killed, 171 UNRWA staff, 348 health workers have been killed, 15 Palestine Red Crescent Society staff and volunteers have been killed so far, 48 members of the civil defense have been killed while on duty. Do you feel these statements that we hear from Israel, for example, or those who are behind Israel are enough? Do you feel Israel is sparing nobody, because a lot of quarters and analysts are also saying that this attack was also mediated and deliberate in order to curtail the spread of aid to the people who are in dire need of it?
Yeah. Look, when we talk of law of armed conflict, under no circumstances you have the right to stop any military weapons or other hardware going to the other side. You have every right to block that during armed conflict. But you simply cannot block humanitarian aid, civilian different food items or clothes or whatever intended for that, even in a legal blockade of a place. However, the states have the right to ensure that the aid going there is actually civilian and not for a military reason. For that, a coordination between the state imposing that stoppage, blockade, or stopping other going into that area of the conflict zone or not, they coordinate with each other. Now, this World Kitchen people have said that they had coordinated with Israeli authorities. They are going there.
And the IDF as
they
well.
knew where they are moving, how much they are, what are the trucks, what is the type of trucks, and so they can be identified clearly. Such trucks must be clearly identified. They were from far and they were identifiable. They were not, and then there are reports that it was not just one drone attack that did it and all 7 died in that. No, there were 3. Some died in the first, they left, the survivors went to a second vehicle, the second was attacked, some survived in that, and then the third. So it was 3. That gives idea of being deliberate. However, of course, investigation needs to be taken place, but look, the question is, and it has been rightly condemned by everyone, but condemnation simply does not matter, it is just a statement. So, by condemning it, you technically say that in future you cannot make it a precedent. Other states cannot say that because Israel did it, so we can do it. All states can say we oppose that as well. That you have secured yourself for future violation, but you have not done anything to stop, limit this thing. I mean, it is not just these 7 workers, this is the latest.
Okay, that is why I was giving you the facts and
the
figures.
that you gave me, 174, I mean, UN workers, you see, dying. It seems, appears that the Israelis clearly are following a policy to either kill or push out people from Gaza.
I
And
totally
that
agree.
looks to be the aim. Now, that is one illegal. To occupation by force is illegal. Acquiring territory by. Then the condemning countries, USA, Canada, or other British and others, they are clearly not even decreasing by 1%, 2% of the aid that enables Israel to carry out.
I mean, just look at the United States of America. US President Joe Biden says he is outraged and heartbroken by the killing of these 7, 8 workers. But the Washington Post reports that on Friday last, the latest consignment of billions of dollars worth of US bombs and planes has been dispatched for Israel. And this aid is more or less $4 billion US dollars per year that is given to Israel. And that hasn't stopped at any time.
Not
They
even slowed down.
but at the same time, they give them the weaponry to do whatever they want.
You see, they are enabling them, these violations. So, enabling them and then condemning them, you don't even slow down. You at least slow down. You say, okay, we support you, but slow down. If you don't stop this such violations, then we will further stop or limit it. But there is no even indication, not even an empty threat that we can stop or think over stopping this support for your work. So, I think these are empty, but definitely this has created, this is such a grave violation that even its strongest, Israel's strongest supporters were unable to justify it or stay mum on it.
That is why they had to take out statements, but the statements that is where it stops.
But it stops there, it will not make much difference in that thing. But you see, the implication of such statements and such violations is much more beyond what is happening in Gaza. It is creating extremism around the world. People are taking from people's general belief, perception of trust that there is some, even if very weak, some law there is losing the ground. Now, whether president or not president, this means that people can, with power, if you have enough power, you can get away with anything. that means, I mean, the basic idea of law is that it's not, you see, there is
Exactly.
law, rule
It's
based
binding. Law is binding.
And then there is law of might is right. Might is right is a jungle law, no law. Law
that is
is
what is being
idea
applied here.
regulated. So, you are opening the world in other spheres as well.
You can say if you are setting up a
right.
president for many other countries, I hope it doesn't happen, but many other you see India, for example, that's following more or less the same regime.
Anyone can do that.
All right. Now, let's come to a United Nations World Bank report that has been conducted with support for the European Union that talks about the damage that has been. Let me also give you some figures. 18.5 billion US dollars of damage has been done to the infrastructure of Gaza alone. This is equivalent to 97% of the combined GDP of the West Bank and Gaza in the year 2022. 62% of all homes in Gaza have been destroyed. Housing accounts for 72% of the total damage costs at an estimated value of 13.3 billion. Public service infrastructure, water, health, education account for 19%, while commercial and industrial buildings make up for 9%. Energy, water and municipal sectors have suffered 800 million in damages, and the water and sanitation system has been significantly reduced, delivering less than 5% of the output. Isn't it staggering, to say the least?
It's staggering, it's colossal, and it clearly confirms the perception that Israel wants to clear Gaza of all people. It is not concerned, it's using Hamas as a pretext, but even if you think you are action, that is a clear understanding of law. A commander must always, this is the basic principle of international laws of armed conflict, a commander must always balance the military target that you are targeting and the civilian cost of that, which one outweighs. Now, there is a person, there is I mean, you can say that because someone fired a gun from me, I have the right to bomb that whole country or the whole city. That is simply a collective punishment, as they call it, collective responsibility. You cannot, I mean, because one someone from ABC country did a grave wrong, was a suicide bomber. You cannot, I mean, you have every right to go after that person, his hour. There may be some collateral damage, but it has to be, you cannot just blank bomb, I mean, carpet bomb because someone from that area.
But this has been the intention from day one. They refer to Palestinians as insects, and this is what they want to do. They want to mow the lawn. This is also a statement that was given way back at the beginning of this conflict. The World Bank and the UN reports also sheds light on 84% of health facilities who have either been destroyed or damaged. We all know about what happened at Al-Shifa Hospital when the military, Israeli military came out after weeks. We had seen the devastation. It was almost destroyed. There were so many who were left dead or others left with no health facility at all. With all these, what the medical facilities have endured, do you feel this is a point of no return? And in your point of view, why destroy elements of sustenance like health facilities? Will there be any respite for these activities or these actions that have been taken by the Israeli government and the Israeli forces?
Will there be any respite is a big question, and I hope there is. But how can you undo? I mean, thousands have already died. Infrastructure is destroyed. It's not just a question of money that the world will give them. It will end one day, and they will give them aid, and you will reconstruct them. That is not the only way. You have destroyed a life. You have destroyed a society, and you are continuously doing that. You are intentionally targeting such targets that makes life possible. So, you are making life impossible. You want to clear the place.
Exactly, because you want your own settlers to come and occupy the land.
That is what they intend to do, that they either die or leave. That is the intention. Because Hamas, good or bad, I mean, you just simply, I mean, go after Hamas. You cannot kill all the. You get rid of because some country or a people are some people among people are bad or doing wrong things or illegal. You don't finish off. That is what is called genocide. That is the clear.
Or ethnic cleansing.
You target a full people. Use a whole people based on color, race or religion. That these people who good, bad, pest, whatever. they have no right to live. That is genocide.
That is genocide that we are seeing since quite some time. The report, I'm coming back to the report because I want to highlight details of it. It also calls on the education system in Gaza that they say has completely collapsed. 625 students in Gaza are out of school. Damage in education infrastructure is $341 million US. 56 school facilities have been destroyed, 219 partially damaged. How long could it take if today we start, constructing and rectifying this situation?
You see, it will take ages. It's not just construction. Their school has destroyed. There was a building. You can start tomorrow classes in the open air. That is another. School works in a community. There are children. How many students are alive to go back to those schools? One. How many teachers? We don't know. People have counted journalists and UN workers or doctors or nurses, but how many ordinary primary school teachers are among those thousands?
True.
So where are you going to bring them from? Then those families that have been displaced, when they come back, when their houses are, how can they start sending their children to school even if it ends tomorrow? So it will, you see, when you end the education system of a society, you have taken the biggest step to ending that society as a society. And that is what is happening.
That is true. Dr. Saab, also, the report calls to increase humanitarian assistance, food aid and food production. We come back to the previous thing of the charity, kitchen charity, and the provision of shelter and housing solutions for the displaced people and the resumption of essential services. But on the one hand, you are bombing all the facilities, even the charity, those who are trying to deliver food. You are blocking UNRWA. You are saying you don't want to work with UNRWA, despite the fact that many countries are now starting to give aid, to resume aid to UNRWA. Do you see that happening? Do you see an increase in humanitarian aid or food aid happening as is required for the people?
It was already much less than was required. Now, like a kitchen, I mean, I don't blame them. They are there to give aid. They are not there going there to die. They are ordinary, average people. They are not soldiers.
True.
Yes, they are there to give humanitarian. Now, this kitchen people have suspended their activities. They have already suspended. So we want more. The already that was happening has one very major organization has suspended. Others will also be thinking twice, rather more than twice, that to continue or not. Or those who are thinking of going in to support will be thinking, no, I am ready to help, but I am not ready to die. You see, everyone is, no, I mean, there may be some really great people who would say, no, I may die, but I will help them. But they would be an average, normal, good, decent human being would be ready to go hardships, but not die.
There are limitations to any work that you do, even in die-hard cases. I don't know what's going to happen, but of course, all we can do here is highlight the issues and for more and more people to understand what the reality of the situation is. Thank you very much, Dr. Ijaz Khan Saab, foreign affairs expert, to have joined us in the studio and to have discussed this very, very important issue. And we'd like to discuss it as much as possible in order to, continue to highlight this nationally and internationally so that more and more people understand what is actually happening. Thank you, sir. Kindly stay with us for a little bit more while I complete my show. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Islamophobia and the increase, the rising surge as far as this is concerned. What is Islamophobia? Before we begin our conversation, it's a fear, it's a prejudice, it's a hatred of Muslims that leads to provocation, hostility and intolerance by means of threatening, by means of harassment, abuse, incitement and intimidation of Muslims and non-Muslims both in the online and offline world. It is motivated by institutional, ideological, political and religious hostility that transcends into structural and cultural racism. It targets the symbols and makers of being a Muslim. Now, the surge in Islamophobia has been quite apparent across the world. Specifically, we've seen since the whole Israel-Palestine conflict began, we are seeing an increase in such incidents, and with particular reference to the United States of America. Wadia Al-Fayoum, a 6-year-old Muslim Palestinian boy, was stabbed to death in Chicago. Georgia teacher threatened to decapitate a student because he was criticizing an Israeli flag that he had put up in his classroom. A Maryland-based Muslim's routine donation to a place of worship in Ohio was reportedly delayed by PayPal because of the ongoing national emergency in Israel. And the list goes on and on. We've been joined by Owais Rajput, who is a security analyst in the United Kingdom, based in the United Kingdom, joins us from there. Thank you very much, Owais, to have joined us. Owais, we are witnessing this rising tide of anti-Muslim hate, bigotry in many parts of the world, whether it be the United States of America, whether it be India, whether it be other countries. Is it too late in your point of view? Can we take the necessary measures to stop the spread?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you very much. You invited me on this special topic, and PTV always playing their positive part transnationally. I'm living in UK, and my heritage is from Pakistan. I'm proud British Pakistani, and if I just concentrate on British society, then yes, the Islamophobia is a big challenge, and we need to clarify, and we have to set out the policies what is Islamophobia is and how we can assess those issues. There are big issues, bigotry. You can say yes, but we need to start step by step. First of all, in UK, we are the largest minority group under diaspora, and we have around about 3.5 million voters, equivalent to Northern Ireland, the Northern Irish people who actually now potato families living in states, and they have the very large vote bank, and they have also a very important role in US politics. Similarly, in UK, the British Kashmiris or British Azad Jammu Kashmiri people and the Pakistanis, they are 3.5 million. They also have the vote bank, and they can change the politics of. And right now, from last 75 or 76 years in UK, we're struggling. We couldn't set out the basic understanding of the Islamophobia or Islam, despite after Christianity within UK, the second largest religion is Islam.
That is true. That is true. And something needs to be done about it before it's way too late, because we're already seeing too many incidents of Islamophobia across the world. Kindly stay online. We've also been joined by Dr. Qibla Ayaz. He's the Chairman, Council of Islamic Ideology. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, institutional discrimination and other barriers violate the human rights and the dignity of Muslims across the world. Divisive rhetoric and misrepresentation are also stigmatizing communities. Who, in your point of view, sir, is behind these acts of discrimination against Muslims, and what do they want to achieve with it?
Thank you very much indeed for having me. As you know that this anti-Muslim feelings have a historic perspective, and originally in the medieval period it was very religious. But then with the passage of time, it started taking different shapes. The present day Muslim phobia or Islamophobia is mainly because of economic reasons. Because you know that a great number of Muslims are immigrating to Europe and different Western countries. And people there are feeling like economically, financially threatened, because the space that has been created in the job market is filled mainly by Muslims, as they are skillful people. Many of them are doctors and engineers. So there are these groups of Islamophobes who are exploiting this aspect and creating hatred against Muslims.
Dr. Saab, I would like to refer to you this report of the Council on Islamic American Relations, that is known as CAIR, the US's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization. It says it has received a staggering 3,578 complaints about discrimination based on race, ethnicity or religion. And of course, if you look at the complete year, more than 7,000 complaints have been received from them. The number illustrates a reality that, under the current regime, Islamophobic bias has reached unprecedented levels, surpassing in some ways even the appalling track record of the previous administration. Is it just because of the Israel-Palestine conflict, or is there more to it?
Well, of course, this Israel and Palestine problem has added fuel to the already existing sense and feelings of Islamophobia. But of course, it is an old story. After 9/11, for example, there was rising Islamophobia. And then, of course, in the different areas where some Muslim extremist groups committed some actions which, of course, Islam does not support, like in France, in Canada, 7/7, in Spain. So these are actions which we need, the Muslims need to retrospect as well, because these actions are giving aided ammunition to the Islamophobes to exploit the feelings of the people against Islam and Muslims.
Dr. Saab, kindly stay online with us. We've got our second guest. We'll just go for one question with him. Owais Rajput, I'd like to understand in the US, whether it be former US President Donald Trump or in the current regime, we are seeing more and we are hearing and seeing more and more reports of discrimination or discriminatory behavior against Muslims. In Donald Trump's time, there was a use of Islamophobic anti-immigrant rhetoric encouraging a growing anti-Muslim bias. Do you feel that Islamophobia has been used as a tool for creating a vote bank in the US?
Well, this is technical, very tricky question. We have to understand the reality. Where is the twist? Where is the issue? We need to understand, after Christianity, even in UK and in the US, the Islam is the second largest practicing religion. But why we always target the religion? We don't need to target the religion. There are other ways in politics. I can give you one example. In Contest 3 2011, because I'm a defense and security researcher by profession, and I was appointed I was invited by Charles Furr and Theresa May. That time she was the Home Secretary, and I contribute on Contest 3 from inductive approach, from community perspective point of view, which is totally ignored right now. It's good, sounds good in books, but not in practical. Yeah, we need a community-based approach to understand our own communities. If we're talking about UK, US, or America, or other Western countries, including Turkey as well, those diaspora communities living in those countries, they're not outsiders. Now they're living from 300, 400, 500 years ago, and in UK from 1890s. How you can ignore them? How you can disown your own, the diaspora community, which their forefathers, they came in 1890s or 15th century, and generation to generation, they're born in this society. What we need to understand the reality between the differences. In Karachi, my education in Trinity School is a Christian school, but I'm a practicing Muslim. So if we understand our ethnic minorities within the Pakistan, and why not? It's not a rocket science. So why not we use the same model in Western countries? I think here they are actually more about the shortcuts, about the election results. But now the world is changing. The world is changed. You can see the aftermaths of this ongoing conflict of Palestine. Muslims, forget the Muslims in Western countries. Now the indigenous communities, the Christian communities, and even the Jewish community, the European and the Western Jewish community, they came out. Now they're refusing this strategy. They said, hang on a second, 9/11 happened, fair enough. Then 7/7 London bombing happened. But now we know inside out. We read,
that is true, and I completely agree with you, Owais. Dr. Qibla Ayaz, another thing that is also contributing to Islamophobia is this online hate speech that is, giving rise or fueling real life violence. We see it in the region, we see it in the West with the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and Palestine bearing the brunt. Do you feel this is somehow somewhere going towards or leading towards a clash of civilizations or a clash of religion?
It is a very difficult question indeed, because it needs further research. I don't think that it is clash of civilization, of clash of religion, because there are very good people who believe in common good, and they're supporting activities of multi-faith dialogue and multicultural cohesion. But I think that there are clash of interests. There are interests colliding, and particularly interests which are based on economic objectives. And my understanding is that the present day Islamophobia or Muslim phobia is rooted in the clash of interests of economics. Like, for example, there are the local people, the European white people who are getting off the jobs. And like, for example, good places are bought by Muslims and this sort of things. So the Islamophobic feelings are then exploited by the group of Islamophobes against Islam and Muslims.
All right, Dr. Saab, kindly stay online with us. So we'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and of course we're discussing the surge in Islamophobia. Let's come to our last stories. The first concerns the telephonic conversation that has been had between Joe Biden, the US president, and Xi Jinping, the Chinese president. They have had this first direct conversation since November, and of course this is a conversation that lasted more than 1 hour, and different important topics of mutual concern and of course were discussed, and important matters were hammered during this conversation. They did last time speak on the sidelines of the 21-member Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in California in November. Xi Jinping has told Joe Biden that the two countries need to adopt a baseline principle of no clash, no confrontation for the year, and this has been stated by the CCTV, that is the official state broadcaster. He said, and I quote, "We should prioritize stability, not provoke troubles, not cross lines, but maintain the overall stability of China-US relations." Now, after this conversation, a lot of other diplomatic activities are also going to happen between the US and China. US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is set to travel to China this weekend. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken will also follow in the weeks ahead. Our last story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Taiwan, that has been struck by the most powerful earthquake in 25 years that measures 7.4 on the Richter scale. Officials are confirming at least 9 people to have died, while rescuers are searching for 77 people trapped in collapsed buildings, and more than 700 people have been injured in these clashes. 5 of the dead, including 3 hikers on a nearby trail, died from falling rocks. Taiwanese authorities have now confirmed overall 127 people are now known to have been trapped as a result of the earthquake. The epicenter was located at 18 kilometers south of Taiwan's Hualien city, according to the US Geological Survey. Tremors were felt as far as the capital Taipei, with videos showing buildings shaking violently. And of course, there have been 101 aftershocks, which has been confirmed by Taiwan, recorded as of 1500 hours local time. There was tsunami warnings for other countries such as Japan also, but that have now more or less been retracted. But it is a very tense time for Japan as well. The residents in Okinawa and other southwestern coastal areas have been told not to let their guard down. This and more, of course, has been happening, and we will be highlighting more as more developments come as far as this tremor is concerned. And of course, we wish Taiwanese all the very best under these current circumstances. And of course, there are different countries that have offered their assistance, whether it be China, whether it be Japan, or other countries. So let's hope that all that aid comes to the people as soon as possible. With that, we come to the end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news story segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.